Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. This is it. This is the last GE Top 25 poll of the season. Because at this time next week, we will know which teams have made the college football playoff. We'll know which teams are in. We will know who has made the New Year's Six bowl games, and we'll begin to learn the bowl destinations for all of the other teams that have reached at least 6 wins. So this is the last set of rankings we are going to be putting out before we know who's in. It's pretty exciting. It's very bittersweet, if you ask me. But let's just go ahead and dive on into it, guys. Again, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Make sure to check out everything down in the description below, including the expert picks over on our website so you don't miss out on our spread picks for conference championships, all 10 of them, and, of course, on every single bowl game. Check it out. But we are glad you're here. Welcome to the Gridiron Expert. Make sure to subscribe, to like, to comment, to share your rankings, and just become a part of the GE Nation if you want to be a part of a college football community that talks college football 24/7, 365. So let's dive into our rankings here, guys. What a wild week 13, a wild rivalry week. A lot of shakeups, right? Only one team in the top 4 remains the same for us, and that's, of course, Georgia. And let me tell you, it was close. We almost put Michigan above the Bulldogs, but ultimately just couldn't do it. Ultimately could not put Michigan above Georgia. Georgia's win over Tennessee is still impressive. Georgia's win over South Carolina continues to look better and better. Keep in mind the Bulldogs annihilated the Gamecocks earlier in the year. So Georgia at 1, Michigan up to number 2, following their win at Ohio State, beating them 45-23, not even close, dominating the Ohio State Buckeyes on both sides of the ball. And they did it without their star running back in Blake Corum. Even more impressive, if you ask me. So Michigan up to number 2. Of course, TCU was at number 4 for us. They're up to number 3 following their win over Iowa State. USC up a spot. They were at number 5. They're in at number 4 now following their win over number 15, Notre Dame. That's kind of to be expected. I think this top 4 is how the top 4 should be when the committee releases theirs going into conference championship week. Now, obviously, things could get kind of crazy before Selection Sunday. There's a chance TCU could lose to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game. There's a chance that USC could lose in the Pac-12 championship game. If those two teams obviously lose, they're going to be out of contention, which opens the door for Ohio State and maybe Alabama. A 2-loss Alabama, that remains to be seen. So chaos could still ensue. But going into this weekend, guys, I believe TCU should be at 3, USC at 4, obviously, no doubt, Georgia at 1, and Michigan at 2. Pretty self-explanatory. Ohio State for us drops down 3 spots following their loss to Michigan. I'll tell you that Ohio State would have remained in the top 4 had the game been close. Easily could have justified maybe just swapping Michigan and Ohio State, or at the worst, moving Ohio State down to 4. But losing by 22 points at home simply is just unacceptable. It's a bad look. Ohio State still very much in the playoff discussion, guys. All they really need is for TCU or USC to lose, and they're going to be in. But obviously it's out of their hands now. They just have to sit back and wait. Ohio State played themselves out currently because of their 22-point loss to Michigan. So Ohio State down to number 5. Alabama up 1 to number 6 following their victory over Auburn. Beating the Tigers 49-27. Nothing to say there. And then obviously a lot of teams here that might catch you by surprise. They're benefiting from so many teams losing ahead of them. They're benefiting from LSU, Clemson, and Oregon, all of which were in our top 10. They all lost, and they are all dropping out of our top 10. So teams on the outside are obviously going to rise in. So Penn State, Tennessee, Kansas State, Washington, and Utah all each moved up 3 spots. Penn State beat Michigan State by 19. Tennessee shut out Vanderbilt 56-0 without Hendon Hooker. Kansas State defeated Kansas by 20 points to clinch their spot in the Big 12 championship. Washington defeated Washington State 51-33 in the Apple Cup. And then, of course, Utah beat Colorado 63-21. None of those wins necessarily impressive. None of them over superior opponents by any means. But because of the losses that happened ahead of them, they do deserve to move up those spots. And obviously, they're very high-quality teams here. So, Penn State, Tennessee, Kansas State, Washington, Utah, all moving up 3 spots just because of what happened ahead of them. Then you get to LSU and Clemson, each of who lost this last week. LSU dropping 6 spots from 6th to 12th following their road loss at Texas A&M. And again, it's a matter of this, guys. You lose to A&M, that's a bad loss enough as it is, right? It's a 4-win Texas A&M team that had done nothing offensively. LSU allowed over 400 yards of offense in that game, 215 of those coming to their running back in Devin Achane. It's ridiculous for LSU, who was a top 5 team in the committee's eyes, top 6 for us coming into this week. But it's the fact they also lost by 15 points. You lose to A&M on a game-winning field goal, okay, you're going to fall, but maybe not as much. You lose by 15 points, you get dominated in that game, you're going to drop a lot further. So LSU dropping 6 spots, Clemson dropping 5 spots following their 1-point loss to South Carolina, a loss that ended their 40-game home winning streak and ruined any shot of them getting into the college football playoff, because we talked about Alabama maybe getting lucky, slipping in to the playoff if chaos ensues with TCU and USC losing. That could have been Clemson. If Clemson were to beat North Carolina in the ACC championship game and chaos ensues in the other championship games, Clemson could have gotten in, but South Carolina prevented that, just like they prevented Tennessee from making the playoffs. So congratulations, Gamecocks, for playing spoiler this year. Kudos to you in Beaver Ball. But LSU and Clemson, the 2 Tigers, the 2 Death Valleys, both dropping out of the top 10, 12, and 13. Oregon State jumping up 7 spots all the way to number 14, right above Oregon, who they beat this last week. The Ducks falling 6 spots, the Beavers rising 7. Both teams sitting with 3 losses on the year. They both have a common loss to Washington. The other loss for Oregon State was by 3 points to USC. For Oregon, it was a blowout to Georgia. And the other loss for Oregon State was to Utah, and obviously Oregon's was to Oregon State. So relatively even losses in my opinions. Obviously, you look at the head-to-head, Oregon State won that, coming back down 21 points in Corvallis to beat the Ducks. So they, to me, deserve to be above Oregon as of right now. They deserve to be above the Ducks, being 38-34. They were number 21. Oregon was number 9, 14, 15 in our rankings now. 16, 17, 18 all remain the same. Now, I hate to do that because Florida State's win over Florida was impressive. The highest scoring game in that rivalry between the Seminoles and the Gators. Florida State prevailed 45-38 to clinch a 9-win season. Tulane beat Cincinnati, ended their 32-game home winning streak, won that game on the road, clinched a spot in the American Championship game. They win that, they will go to a New Year's Six bowl game. UCLA survived California. Especially Florida State and Tulane, those wins typically would mean they move up in the rankings. They were unable to do so in ours because of LSU and Clemson dropping, Oregon State significantly rising up, Oregon dropping. So obviously some of these teams weren't going to drop further than 16th, but you also couldn't justify moving Florida State or Tulane above them. Even though they lost, still have a handful of quality wins. Clearly for us, we're significantly better in the rankings over Florida State or Tulane prior to their losses. So a lot of things going into play there. It'll be a surprise for some to see Florida State, Tulane staying the same. Typically they would move up, but the chaos that we saw in rivalry prevented them from doing that. So 16 through 18 stay the same. South Carolina joining the top 20, guys, and rightfully so. Yes, they have 4 losses, but they defeated top 10 opponents in back-to-back weeks. Annihilated Tennessee, then went on the road, beat Clemson. They deserve, to me, to be in the top 20. They come in at number 19, right above Notre Dame, who lost at number 6 USC 38-27. Still a remarkable turnaround for Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish. They could have given up. They looked horrible at the beginning of the year, lost to Marshall, could have given up. They righted the ship, bounced back, had some quality wins in there over BYU, over Syracuse. Obviously, the blowout over Clemson stands out. But they fell short on the road at USC. They dropped 5, but we do believe they're still a top 20 caliber team. Drew Pine looked very, very good in that game. Defense just couldn't stop Caleb Williams and that USC offense. So South Carolina and Notre Dame both have 4 losses, both, though, in the top 20. Something to be said for that. Over in the final column here, Texas moves up 3 spots following their win over Baylor, beat them on Black Friday by 11. UCF moving up 3 spots. They will play Tulane. They will play Tulane in the American Championship game. Basically, the winner of that is going to go to a New Year's Six bowl game. Highest ranked Group of 5 conference champion. Obviously, we do have Cincinnati in there. They're not going to win the conference. UTSA is in there for us. They might beat North Texas in the Conference USA Championship game, but obviously the Tulane or UCF is going to win. UTSA is not going to jump either of them. So the winner of Tulane and UCF goes to a New Year's Six bowl game. It's pretty exciting, something to keep your eyes on. The Knights barely survived USF 46-39, but they are in the top 25. North Carolina dropping 3 spots following their double overtime loss to NC State. Barely holding on to that top 25 spot. They will play Clemson 13-23 in the ACC championship game. Cincinnati falling by 3 points to Tulane, obviously at home, but a good Tulane team. They do not, to my opinion, deserve to fall out of the top 25. They dropped 5 spots from 19th to 24th. And then UTSA coming in at number 25. Give credit to the Roadrunners. Last year's Cinderella story. This year they're doing phenomenal things again. 10-2, an undefeated season in the Conference USA. Have a chance to win another conference championship on Friday if they can beat North Texas. Give credit to the Roadrunners, guys. To me, they do deserve to be in the top 25. Right as a fringe team, not a New Year's Six caliber team, but deserve to be talked about for the success they've had over these last 2 years. So there you go, guys. There's your top 25, the final set heading into Week 14, heading into Conference Championship weekend. Obviously, a lot at stake. A lot at stake this weekend. A lot of teams are going to lose. We're going to see some chaos. We could see major chaos if we see TCU and USC both lose in their respective championship games, and that is very, very possible. We will have predictions out for all of the conference championship games right here on the channel. Stay tuned for those. We'll have individual videos for some of the bigger championships, but stay tuned, guys. We'll predict every single one. We'll give you analysis for every single one, and we'll give you our betting picks against the spread picks for every championship game only on the Gridiron Expert at thegridironexpert.com through those expert picks. So make sure you go stay tuned for those. But leave us your rankings, leave us your thoughts. Final top 25 of the season, because at this time next week, it'll all come to a close. We'll know who's in, we'll know the bowl destinations, and we'll get ready for a wild, wild postseason of college football. Bowl season, arguably the best time of the year. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Of course, check out everything down in the description below, including, again, those expert picks over on the website, thegridironexpert.com. Link down in the description below. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.